Welcome to season 1, episode 6 of Trade You for the Fruit Punch. I am your host, Guy Brovitz, and I'm here with my son, Ari. Ari's still in his prison cell. We haven't let him out. I happen to be at the St. Ermin's Hotel in London, former MI6 headquarters, where they pipe in, right? The smell of like pipe smoke. It's amazing. It's disgusting and amazing at the same time. Um, we are going to be talking today about a handful of things, right? So we're going to be talking about the Sixers home opener. Yeah, get hyped. It was great. And game
Oh, it was
two, which
horrible.
was also great. I happened to watch game two here in London with a VPN. Shh. And I know, and what I noticed was the same freaking commercials were being played over and over again. It was actually fairly annoying. Apartments.com, those were actually pretty good because I think it's Jeff Goldblum, Brad Bellflower. He's amazing. LL Bean, who the fuck wears that shit? Like, let's be honest, nobody wears that shit. Like, it's a broke man's, like, I don't even know what. It's horrible. And then Capital One Bank, which is fucking shitty Goldman Sachs. But anyway, that's the advertisement portion of our show. Clearly, we're a little fucking upset because Tottenham lost and the Sixers lost. So I'm not in the mood to, like, write copy for horseshit right now because our teams are in the dumper and the Phillies better win tonight, or I might off somebody. I mean, it's very
Ew,
fitting.
taking
I'm
after the
annoyed.
Ari school of thought.
I am fucking annoyed. There's no doubt about it. I'm in the lobby of the hotel because the Wi-Fi in the room sucks. Because apparently I'm in a third fucking world country here where they don't have good Wi-Fi. I don't understand it. Like, this isn't Ari's prison cell. This is a decent hotel in the middle of London. The Wi-Fi should be okay, and it's not. Anyhow, so we're going to talk Sixers. We're going to talk about the Ben Simmons watch. We're going to talk about the Phillies, and we're definitely going to talk some soccer. We're going to talk some union
Soccer.
soccer. So my cab driver actually from Victoria Station to the hotel was a Man United fan who drove 9 hours round trip to watch that game, and needless to say, he was
He
pretty
must have been happy.
he was pretty happy. He didn't get home until like 4 in the morning. But he was certainly pretty happy about the game, and I was not. He did give me a compliment, though. He goes, "For an American, you pretty much know your shit." And he goes, "Even if you weren't American, you kind of know your shit," which I thought was pretty great. And we're
Which is
also going
crazy
to
because you don't know your shit at all.
Oh, come on. I know my shit. You're out of your mind. Anyway, so we're going to talk about Tottenham. So let's start with the Sixers. And I'm going to, because I'm overseas and I haven't been able to. So I did watch game one at home. Game two, I watched here as well. But I watched like the replay of it because I woke up at, 7, 8 in the morning here and it was the replay on TNT. So I actually watched it when it was 80-80 and the shit show that ensued. Although, for those of you not from Philly, there's something used to be called the Frosty. Was it the Frosty Freeze Out or something?
Frosty freeze
Um,
out.
where
It's
if the
now the
opponent
brickin' for
missed,
chicken,
it's fucking
which is
great.
so great.
It's so good. So the Frosty Freeze Out was really simple, right? A guy from the other team goes to the line and he misses both free throws, and everybody in like the city of Philadelphia, if they want to, can get a free Frosty.
Specifically in the
Well,
second half of the game.
specifically in the second half.
I'm not sure that, but that
Well, they
was
always,
definitely
I will say, I was always upset with how they advertised it because they said if the opponent misses two straight free throws. Now, two straight is different than two free throws at the
okay. You
line
could
in
miss the
one.
second of your trip and then
Correct.
get fouled again and miss the first, and that's technically two straight. So I see where you're coming
That's
from there.
exactly it. So it always annoyed me the way they advertised it. And so now it's, what is it, clucking for chicken? which is
Brickin' for
fantastic.
chicken.
Brickin' for chicken.
Cluckin'? What the fuck does
I,
clucking have to do with
I
anything?
don't know. I'm like all kinds of whacked out right now.
You
Come
can
on.
tell he's
I'm
totally
sleep deprived.
discombobulated.
I'm not in my element. I do have my computer. I have my headset, but I'm also in literally the lobby of a hotel where people are walking by me and doing their thing, which they have every right to be doing, but like not around me.
Mad
Get the
about
fuck
it
away
though.
from me.
He's
I'm
so
on like
mad
the
about it.
second floor, away from kind of everything. Like you don't need to be here. And I've got this table, by the way, that's kind of on a swivel. Look at this. It's fucking amazing. I actually need one of these at home. We can. I want the knife from the Golden Child. All right, enough of the
What's
bullshit.
wrong with you?
I'm like punch drunk from not sleeping. What do you think? Anyhow, okay. So let's talk Sixers. Give me your here's I think the way we need to do it, which is we've played 2 games. Um, go through the starters.
Overall thoughts.
Yeah, give me your thoughts on the starters.
Um, I think I'm gonna start easy and go with PJ Tucker. I think he's doing pretty much exactly what he's supposed to do. I thought last night what was interesting is he played the center in a small ball lineup and it was highly effective. Like that's when we came back from that 10-point deficit and like that's a good weapon to have in your arsenal. Um, Tobias is the next easiest. I think he didn't have a good game last night. He had an okay
He
game
had a
this
good game
night.
the first night. I think he had 18 points. He
He
did
had a
well.
good first half, and then I don't think he scored until like the last minute of the game.
I mean, that's Tobias. He never puts a whole game together, right? He always puts like a half
This is
together.
what I've always said. I swear, every good game Tobias has ever had is between 24 and 26 points. And he'll score 22 of them in the first half. Where you're like, oh my God, he's on pace for like 47. And then he gets into the second half and you're like, I think he's touched the ball 3 times.
So do you remember when Phoenix made it to the finals a couple of years ago? I bet on DeAndre Ayton to score 19 points in the game. And
Such a
that
weird number.
motherfucker scored 18 in the first half and did not score a point in the second half. And that's Tobias Harris. Thanks, Tobias.
Essentially, yeah.
Okay.
But I thought, like, what encouraged me about Tobias is he wasn't. There was one play I didn't like where he held the ball for too long and brought it up and whatever. But for the most part, he's adapting to this new role where he's not really going to have the ball a lot. So I can live with that for the time being, as long as he just makes his open shots.
I noticed he will rebound and then bring the ball up a little bit just to get a little bit more in the flow of things, which I'm fine with. Anybody
I'm fine with that, but
modern
then we
NBA.
got into the opponent's half, and it was put 12 seconds before he let the ball go, and I didn't like that.
It should be 6 to 8, but I have to say, and I know I'm kind of cutting us off and taking us on a tangent a little bit, which is kind of what I do all the time. But the ball got stuck with him. The ball gets stuck with all of them. There is no movement at all in this team, and at
Their
some
offensive
point,
sets are atrocious.
they're terrible. I mean, so
you know what the hope is?
What's the hope?
I'm hoping that this
I know.
0-2
Hold on.
start.
Can I predict your hope?
You know exactly what my hope is. No,
So
don't predict it
No, I want to predict
because you're
it.
going to be right.
Can I predict it and you tell me if I'm right or wrong?
I mean, you're going to be right.
So your hope is, let's say over the next 10 or 15 games, we shit the bed and they fire Doc and we find
I'm hoping for a Joe Girardi.
Yeah.
I'm hoping they Joe Girardi him.
So who's our Joe? If they put in Sam Cassell, I actually think it'd be great.
I think Sam's
I hear he's a very good coach.
He does all the coaching for Doc anyway.
Well, but so then he sucks because we suck.
No, like the player coaching, I mean.
The man management you're talking, not the plays and sets. Okay.
No, Doc makes the sets, which are atrocious.
I would have expected Jorger, who's our defensive guy, to be better. And again, he had cancer last year. I feel horrible about that, but I don't like
It's
that.
unimportant
Doesn't
to the
It's not
discussion
right.
of whether he's a
It's not about
good
wins or
coach or
losses.
not,
Like
though.
he won. He's alive. Great. I don't mean to demean that. It's fantastic. But like those defensive sets have been shit. It's actually now it's just sick PJ Tucker on the best player on the other team, and then hope the rest of them can play a little defense because there are no defensive sets. I will say, Tucker, from what I saw, did a decent job on Giannis.
He did a terrible job on Tatum, though.
He
He
did
just
a
can't
terrible
keep.
job, right? But he did a good job on coin purse bag Giannis. No
Everyone
bag
was saying
Giannis.
Giannis was amazing last night. I was like, what game were you watching? He had
Giannis sucked.
21 points. Like, he was fine at
And
best.
he got us chicken. Like if I was in
He
Philly
got us
right now,
chicken.
I'd be eating a 5-piece nuggets from Chick-fil-A for free.
I should be able to
And
catch
even
that in the food
you
court here. It's
cannot.
such bullshit that I can't. It's such bullshit that I can't.
It's
I should be
limited to
able to go up to them
Philadelphia.
where I should be able to go up to them wearing one of my Sixers
Right.
sweatshirts and be like, "Listen, I watched the Brickin' for Chicken. Here's the clip. Give me my 5 free
So
nuggets."
here's where I think here's where you could actually reach out to Chick-fil-A and say, I'm a huge Philadelphia fan. I'm from Philadelphia, the suburbs, but I'm from Philadelphia. And I go to school in Maryland and there's a Chick-fil-A here. Would you be open to me wearing Sixers gear to that Chick-fil-A for the free 5-piece? And while Coke obviously ignored your
Yeah,
emails,
the last time
um,
that I did that didn't go so well for me.
no, but I think you need to keep trying, and so I think you should do it with Chick-fil-A. And I want to like for not for the next couple episodes, you need to reach out and you need to see, and then you need to give us an update if they ever got back to you, if
Give
they
me an
ever get back to
update.
you.
They
Yeah.
won't.
Okay. So
Apparently,
we went
corporate
through.
America hates me.
Yeah, they're not the only ones. I'm just kidding. I
Wow.
love you. No,
Wow.
no, no. Come on.
No,
You're
we're
my
not moving
favorite
on from
son.
that.
You're my favorite
That's
son.
such bullshit.
Why? I only have
I
one.
have another son, but the dog is your
Exactly.
favorite son.
No, that's not true. Although he was adorable this week, but that's besides the point. Um, so we went through Tucker. We went through Tobias. What are your thoughts on? Let's go to
Okay?
Maxi.
I was gonna say Maxi is
Let's
the
go to
next
Maxi.
easiest. He hasn't fully hit his stride yet. Uh, I think he's like a nation of he's not getting the ball in his hands the amount he wants, and he's not getting the run with the second team that would give him the ball in his hands more. Um, but overall, like there have been some things I've seen from him that are good, and then there are some things from him where like the defense has to improve, right? Like I think Maxi, with his quick hands and everything, has the tools to be at least a solid enough defender in this league, right? Like Fred VanVleet is also tiny and he's a really good help defender. I could see a world in which Maxi develops that kind of like quick hands, tenacious help defense, but he's got to put more effort into it for that to happen.
To me, it feels he's like a little chicken with his head cut off when he's playing defense. But part of that is also because the hair's always flopping around. It looks like he's a little bit more out of control than he is. I'm not even kidding. Like that's not a joke. Most of the shit I say is not is I mean highly inaccurate and sometimes not meant for to be serious, but this is me actually being serious where I do think he flops around a little bit, like the hair's going in every direction. It looks like he's got no fucking clue what he's doing. He's just running around like a chicken with his head cut off. But I look,
It,
I think he's adapting to the role as the third scorer, right? As the third guy on this team. I think he went under the radar. And I know, look, in Philly, we love him, and everywhere in the country, like every team knows him. But he was still, last year was a second year player. He was still a little bit under the radar. Now he's a focus, right? The Sixers are expecting from him quite a bit. Whereas the last couple of years, they didn't expect 18 a game or whatever. And I think that's affecting him, and he needs to just find his place, which is fine, right? Now, I do want to get into like we had some minutes predictions. Um, who's playing?
PJ Tucker leading the charge.
So PJ, I believe I think he had 33 minutes in game
First
one,
game.
right? And he had 39 minutes in game two. Oh boy, with the average of 36, which is exactly what we didn't want. Matisse
But
had
also
all of
exactly what we expected.
right. Now Matisse, the over under I set was 7, and we both went under, and he has not yet reached, I think, 2 minutes
I
in
think he
both
played
games.
45 seconds.
The first
Has
game,
he
I think he
reached
played
a
12 seconds.
minute?
No, so technically, they gave him a minute for last night's game. Um, and depending on which source, they gave him 0 or 1 minute for game one against the Celtics. I mean, this team
But
is
like, if
horrible.
you add up the seconds, like,
Oh, it's not.
I
It's
don't think it
probably
adds up.
game
Does it
one
to
was.
30?
I don't know. I didn't look. I didn't watch all of last night's game, but game one I watched, and I think he was in for all of 13 seconds. Like it was,
Exactly.
Doc got him in, and then there was something that happened, and Doc was like, "All right, you're done," and then hit the showers, buddy. You're not playing anymore. Um, all right, so let's finish off though. Obviously, do you want to go Joel first,
I
or do
want
you
to
want
go
to go
Joel
Harden first? Okay.
first. So you're not going to interject. I know you want to, but you're not going to interject here. Okay. Say
Should
okay.
I do
I
this?
want I
Okay.
want your word.
Here's what I'm gonna do.
I don't want to look at this fucking window. Turn it
Just
back.
go. No, because it's the only way I'll keep quiet. Even
Turn
though
it back. Turn
I
it
love
back.
this.
Something's wrong with you. You're like a
All right.
small child who's just been given a
Oh,
new
you
toy.
have no idea. Actually, you have every idea. All right, so Joel, go for it.
Joel starts off every season badly. Um, with that being said,
Because he's
last
fat
night
and
in
out of shape.
shh, shh, last night in the god damn it, in the third quarter was probably the one of, if not the worst showing I've ever seen. Not because of his play itself, but because he looked totally disinterested and like that it wasn't like his show, so he didn't want to be a part of it. And what I'll say is when he came back in the fourth quarter, it seemed like he had come to grips with the fact that this was the Harden show for now. And he set a couple real, like, I've never seen Joel set hard screens until last night when I saw him do like 3 in a row in the span of a minute. And I think he kind of started making the plays that would help the team win rather than doing what you always just like, I get the ball, I keep the ball, and then I either pass or shoot with like 3 seconds. And he didn't do that last night. He kind of deferred to James while James was
Well,
a
James
good
did
game.
that. So, I know, like, I have to look at this and just say, overall, these two games, James has exceeded my expectations. So
But
let's frame, but
you're
man,
an
does the
asshole.
ball get fucking stuck with that guy.
That's his
And then
job.
I know, but like, and then
Enough that the ball
the,
gets stuck with
the
them. They're your
heave,
star players. They're supposed to have the ball. That
the
is the
heave,
entire point.
he dribbled in game one 525 times.
Should have
The
dribbled a
entire
thousand.
the
Maybe we would have
entire
won.
rest of the Philadelphia 76ers dribbled 411 times. He dribbled more than everybody else combined, plus 114. Like, that's fucking insane. The ball gets stuck with this guy, and he heaves those threes, and he does that, like, flop of James. I don't know what we were going to call it. Maybe we call it flop of James. When he goes into the hole, he throws the ball up, and he does this, and he throws his arms up. And then the best was last night. I actually noticed there was one where he did it around the end of the game, and he did his shtick. He didn't go back on D, and I think PJ Tucker stole the ball and then passed it to him, and he got a layup. And I think that was like 80-80. And so everyone's looking at it and saying, James, great play, and he made the layup, but the fucker didn't get back on defense. That's the only reason why he had that layup. And he got bailed out by PJ Tucker and we were playing 5-on-4 basketball defensively, or 4-on-5, I should say. Again, he's better than I thought he would be. Everybody else essentially, well, everybody else. Joel is hugely disappointing. I can't watch him when he's this
Hang
bad.
on, we're not done with James yet. Like, you
Okay,
moved on to James, so we're gonna talk about him.
talk about James. Give it to me.
We both said during the offseason, in order for this season to be a success, James Harden needs James Harden. Correct or incorrect?
Correct.
I want one word. Correct. Houston James Harden, notoriously a one-man dribble machine offense who is very ball dominant and jacks up a lot of shots. Like, this is what we asked for. This is what we wanted. I'm sick of you and your there's only one ball and the ball gets stuck in his hands. You'd rather have it in PJ Tucker's hands? You'd rather have it in Tobias Harris's hands? Like,
No.
you have 5 guys on the court at any given time. Who would you rather have it in their hands? James and Joel or Tobias and
I want ball movement.
fucking PJ
I want
Tucker?
ball movement. I want the ball to move.
You don't have the guys for that.
Then I have the wrong guys on my team. And you know what? I'm starting to think like the process as it was set up, given that we didn't give it a chance and Hinkie was only here for 3 years, has failed. The process has
What do you mean
failed.
starting to think? You've been saying that for fucking years.
No, but it's like I always hope it's going to be like next year it's going to be better. No, wait, next
You just
year.
hate Joel. That's the problem.
He's not my favorite. I mean,
You're
he's
wrong.
amazing.
Your favorite's Matisse.
Not anymore.
Your opinion is objectively incorrect because your favorite Matisse Steibel.
I'm starting to think we can't win a title with Joel Embiid as our best player.
You are incorrect.
I don't think I am.
We can't win a title. We can't win with Doc Rivers as our coach. That's for
Probably.
damn sure.
I'm starting to believe that.
By the way, this deepest Sixers roster of all time, what did your bench do for you?
I know they had 11 points in game 1. I mean, Malcolm Brogdon had more than that. And in game 2, they had 13 whole points. Melton had 9. House Jr. had 4. Niang 0. Harrell 0. Thibault 0. Paul Reed even got a minute, I think. No, he got 4 minutes, and he had 0. So the bench scored 13
because he got 4
points.
minutes.
Well, yeah, I mean, 13 total points from the bench. That's not good enough.
Through 2 games, it was 24.
Yeah.
This is supposedly the deepest roster we've ever had. I've been saying all summer, like, this roster complete, it's not good enough. Daryl Morey did not do enough. He's got a fucking ex-Rockets fetish. Daniel House is atrocious at basketball. Like, he is just a bad player.
He was actually in with 4 minutes left in the fourth. I couldn't believe it. Again, keep in mind, I watched 7 minutes of that game. And he was in the 4th minute. He was in the game. I don't understand it. It makes absolutely no sense to me whatsoever.
I think Niang was also the first guy off the bench, and like, he should be your 10th man, not your 6th.
Well, I mean, last year he was definitely our 6th man. So
yeah, because we had a shitty bench last year. This year, like, you're supposedly way better. For reason, Daniel House is the 7th or 8th guy off the bench, and he's terrible. Like, the only guy off this bench that I really like is Melton.
Furkan Korkmaz?
Has he played a minute? I don't think he has.
No, he's probably hurt. He's still nursing that hand injury that he had all last season, or the fact that he got punched in the face during that international game.
That was
I don't, but this team's atrocious. It's not fun to watch. That's the problem, right? You constantly complain about Tottenham. This Sixers team is not fun to watch, and who I blame for all of this, by the way. I actually have one person I blame. And this person, I was watching a documentary on the plane, and it was the Redeem Team documentary. And who was the GM of the Redeem Team? Are you aware? This
I am
predates
not.
you a little bit. This is Ari plus five, but still. The GM of the Redeem Team was none other than Jerry Colangelo. And
Okay. Yeah.
he and Ed Clown's son took over from Sam Hinkie and actually ruined the Sixers. They actually figured out a way to fucking ruin the Sixers. All the
So
draft
that's
picks we
true.
had,
But, and there's a big but, very, like, we're in basketball years very far removed from that time. Daryl Morey and Doc Rivers are to blame right now. Like, Daryl Morey's
no,
had enough time with this team to shape it in his image.
but
This
he's
is
been
his
here a
image for
year.
this basketball
He's
team.
been here 1 year. He
And look at how
started
much
last
player
summer.
turnover there's been.
I understand that, but there's only so much you can do in a year. Like he need not to say he needs more time. This team something needs more time. And again, I'm not suggesting he should be the one to take us the next 5 years, but he's only been here a year. I don't necessarily blame him,
And
and
look,
he's done what
like,
he could to revamp this lineup to try to create a winner because guess what? We were never winning with Ben and Joel. That was never going to happen, right? And so he traded Ben and he's moved things around and he got PJ Tucker on a 3 year, $33 million deal, which by the way, like yes, he scores 4 points a game, but he's
he's
worth every
necessary.
penny of that. I like him. I like look.
But is
He plays
Daniel
the five.
House necessary?
He's a filler. That shouldn't be
Especially
the
when
difference
you
between you winning
know,
and losing.
but it's the difference because Doc's going to play him for way too long every game, and
Well,
everyone
there's
knows it. It's
so
the
you're
same
in
thing with
right.
Montrez. And Montrez has already proved that, like, he's not good when push comes to shove.
Well, I am starting to. I like the Doc hire. I don't know why, because everyone had said Doc is not that good a coach, and he really got lucky when the Celtics won. He should have won one with the Clippers. I mean, that those teams, some of those teams were outstanding. Um, so I'm starting to see the Doc talk, and I think we need to replace him with a decent coach and see what happens. I they're not fun to watch. They're kind of fucking boring. Like normally I'd miss Sixers games if I was away, and I'd be like kind of upset and want to watch them. I don't really want to go out of my way and watch these games. And I even got a
They
VPN.
play terrible defense. The offense is just discombobulated. Like, and the defense will get better. There's a lot of new personnel, which never helps with defensive sets, but
Look,
just
we
atrocious.
we've always said this, right? You can be so good at defense, it doesn't matter. Offense is always more important than defense, and offense always trumps the defense. I get it. Now in the playoffs, that the gap between the two is a little less, right? Because the defense is a little bit more important, and they call games a little bit, a little bit looser, and they let you get away with a little bit more. So the gap between offense and defense like um, has tightened or tightens during the playoffs, but it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter because this team isn't good offensively and they're not good defensively. And I don't know what's going to change. It's not like all of a sudden they're going to click and be like, oh, wow, we figured this shit out.
Well, they actually might, but
I think my
like
prediction of 50 wins was spot on. Yeah, they'll beat. I mean, there's a lot of good teams out there, and fine, they'll beat Detroit, and I like Detroit a lot, right? I was actually on a call today, a work call, and we were talking about cities, and everyone's like, "Well, Phillies won a World Series recently." I go, "You can't," because someone was complaining about Washington and the Commanders. And I go, well, but the Capitals won recently and the Nationals won recently. I said, we don't win anything. And then a woman on the phone, she goes, I'm from Detroit. That's all she said. And I said, you win. You win. All my complaints, you're right. You're from Detroit. You win nothing. Um, like, I don't, honestly, I don't want to talk about them anymore. We spent 25 minutes on the Sixers and I fucking hate them. I can't stand watching them. I can't
we
stand
need to
most of
pull
the
a
players
Joe
on this team.
Girardi. We got to get rid of Doc. I honestly hope in next 15 games we go 2-13. Because I think
We
at that
won't.
point there is no room for him to be kept. Like there's no
I would
real
agree with that.
argument for that.
We won't. We'll go. We'll go 8-7 or 6-9, even like some nothing. 6-9. I actually think he might get fired too. Like that's just
There'd
not
be
good
some
enough for this
talk.
team.
I
Yeah.
mean, I mean, we're gonna move on to Tottenham next, and like Tottenham got Nuno sacked, if you remember. I don't know if you remember this, but last year we lost to Manchester United 3-0 in what seemed like El Sacco.
Oh, that was
And
definitely El Sacco.
the news stories immediately after the game were that Daniel Levy wasn't going to fire him yet. Like he wasn't going to be gone. And then about 2 days later, there was so much uproar on Twitter and online and everywhere from Tottenham fans that they went back on it and fired him.
So what I'll tell you is, I'm here, and there is not one word about firing Conte. So we've transitioned to Tottenham, right? Tottenham lost. It was 2-0 to Manchester United on Wednesday at Manchester United. This is a team that went into that game having played Chelsea poorly in drawing, having played Arsenal poorly in losing, having played a number of other games but winning, and this is the best start in like Tottenham's Premier League history. And so we went into Manchester and we got shellacked. I mean, it's like whatever worse word we got our fucking asses handed to us. And the tactics were terrible, the players were terrible, everything about that game was terrible. Um, and meanwhile, Manchester United, they didn't even notice. So, Ronaldo walks off the pitch in the 89th minute, refuses to come on, and nobody noticed it. The cabbie didn't say a word about it, and he's a huge Man U fan. Nobody even. And here's the thing: when they announced the lineups, I was upset Ronaldo wasn't starting because I thought if Ronaldo starts, we're actually in good shape, even though he destroyed us last year.
He destroyed us. He only plays well against us.
Well, Tottenham is the place where bad form goes to die. We say that all the time, right? I think the fan groups say it differently than you and me, but like essentially I've always said Tottenham, the place where bad form goes to die. And so if you're having a poor run of
You
form,
say
like
it.
no, I've been saying it forever. Come to Tottenham, like
You
we'll
say it
fix that
because I
for
said
you.
it.
No, I say it all the time. I've said it before you said it. That's not true.
I told you about Dr. Todd. I told you about all this
So
stuff.
that's
Don't try to
exactly it.
act
I
tough.
didn't know Dr. Tottenham. I didn't know that term, but I used to always say, I still say it. Tottenham is a place where bad form goes to die, and bad form meaning not ours, but the other teams. And so, I mean, look, we for whatever reason we make Fred look like the best midfielder in the world, and Fred is shit. I mean, he is like a hot plate of shit on a plate of more shit. He's terrible. And we always make him look like the best player in the Premier League. And the fact that, and I keep wanting to call him Pedro because I fucking hate him so much, but the fact that Bruno, I mean, has these games against, he is my least favorite player in the Premier League. I have never seen, what is it, histrionics? Like Bruno's histrionics. Like he is a horrible human being. I just can't stand him. And by the way, I was
He's a horrible human flops a little bit.
yeah, by the way,
Like he
so last
annoys the
night
fuck out of me, but like, come on.
no, so last night I went to the Fulham Aston Villa game and I was sitting in the second section but right next to the Aston Villa fans. Now they were hysterical. Um so the first song they sang was "Your support is fucking shit" to the Fulham fans, which by the way it is because they don't sing, they're boring. I mean, this is like a group of, I think it's the people, it's like business people who want to be cool and not support Chelsea, right? Because that was like the popular team in London to support as like a business person. Like, yeah, I'm a Chelsea fan. Oh yeah, you're a Chelsea fan. You loved them 30 years ago when they were shit, right? Oh yeah, yeah. Um, And so Fulham is like that team. Younger business people now can't support Chelsea. It's like too popular. But Fulham, that's cool to support them. Like, yeah, it's Fulham, but then they don't sing any songs and they're boring as hell.
I feel like you're making shit up.
No, I don't think I am. I was at the game. My statistical sample was like 14 people in suits, right? Like that's
One
enough. Right.
n equals one game.
No, n equals one game, n equals 14 people. I mean, I think I have them pegged. But so, and then around the 60th minute before the red card, the Villa fans started singing in the tune of "You'll Never Walk Alone, You'll Never Work Again." And they started chanting for Gerrard to be ousted. And this was before the red card, before the penalty, and before the own goal. So it was only 1-0 at that time. And they were chanting for him to go. You'll never work again. And, get out, get him out.
I mean, he had a 30% win rate with Villa. That is worse than Gary Neville with Valencia, which is like
Look,
notoriously one of the worst managerial stints of all time.
so for the record, for everybody listening, Ari actually thought he would be a decent manager. And he thought he was good at Rangers, and he was better than uh, than Frank Lampard. That's
To
our
be
buddy over
fair,
here, Ari. He
so
makes
that is
mistakes,
correct. He
right?
looked good with Rangers. From what I've heard, actually, his assistant coach like kind of carried him while he was at Rangers, and he didn't bring that guy over to Villa with him. Um,
Okay, maybe.
and this Gerrard versus Lampard debate, while it might be like cool and like player, as coaches, it is trash versus garbage. They are dog shit as managers. And Lampard looks better right now because Everton are doing fine, I
Because
guess.
Everton have 11 points from 10 games, whereas Villa had 10 points from 11 games. I think
Exactly.
that's what it is, by the way. Right.
Like they're both very bad.
I mean, look, you should have seen as toothless as Tottenham was. I don't want to spend a lot of time on Villa. Villa would have made Tottenham look like the most
Let's not go that far.
well-coached team.
Bad
No,
form.
Villa were so bad last night. But I will say, so I walked from here to Fulham, about a 5-mile walk past the Chelsea, ground, Stamford Bridge. Beautiful walk, beautiful day, just really pleasant. Enjoyed my time at Craven Cottage. Um, it was just pleasant. I actually, you're supposed to hate every other Premier League team, but if for
You
whatever
are?
reason you are supposed to
Hate?
like essentially it's different levels of hatred, but you're not supposed to like any other team. I'm okay with Fulham. I kind of
I
like
like
Fulham.
Palace. Palace are my second team.
I know Palace is your second team. I think Fulham is my second team. It kind of always has been. Um, but it's funny because I always used to say like if I didn't support Tottenham, I'd support Everton. I get that. Yeah, no, I think it's Fulham. Anyhow, so the Tottenham game. What were your thoughts on the game after we've now bashed them for 10 minutes and haven't really said anything about the game other than a few things here and there? But what did you see during that game that maybe the everyday watcher of soccer may have missed?
I mean, I don't really feel like I need to do this like casual fans would have missed this. Like instead, really what I'm going to say is a response to something that you said on our last episode or 2 episodes ago. I think it was 2 episodes ago after we played Frankfurt. You said that once we took off Ribier and Dyer, we lost control of the game. And those guys are like the backbone of this squad is bullshit. They're terrible players. And this is the biggest problem that's had over the last few years is we as a support group are constantly owning these shit players based on like 3 good performances. Højbjerg had like 3 good games this year, and people conveniently forgot about how bad he was last season. And Dyer has always been distinctly average at best.
The problem is, so what's interesting now, you're going to hear me rant a little bit, right? So if you read The
Again,
Athletic, if you read The Athletic, which, by the way, have we talked about The Athletic? They have really great ideas for articles. And then when you read the article, they're so poorly written. But worse than that, they don't even give you enough information about what they're talking about. And so you leave there thinking, like, I kind of get what they were trying to say, but they didn't say it very well and they didn't develop it enough. It's kind of like they're like in eighth grade writing essays. Like you haven't gotten to high school yet, you haven't really learned how to write. Not that you learn how to write in high school anyway, but like I buy it because I think the articles are decently thought out. So they've got someone thinking up great articles, but then when it actually comes to the execution part of it, it's terrible. And so the Athletic, I think, does say that Hoybier's had a good season, one of his better. I don't. I'll tell you, Dyer was not good. The problem is Romero wasn't good. Um,
Romero had one bad moment. I really don't know what
I
you're
don't.
referring to when you say Romero isn't good.
I
Like, I
he
think
just.
you look for mistakes and just choose to see them.
I think he's clumsy. I think he clatters people too often in a way that he doesn't need to. Um,
That's kind of the whole point of Romero. He's aggressive. And your
I,
what you say is clumsiness is aggression.
mm,
You just don't like these what you see as reckless.
he's reckless. That's a good word. That's the way to put it.
No,
He's reckless.
I said you see him as reckless. I did reckless.
No, I
He's not
you
reckless. His aggression is actually very well contained.
no, I
He's very
understand you're not saying he's reckless, but you gave me a good word in that that's a perfect word for explaining who he is. He's reckless. And I don't need him to be reckless all the fucking time. Like just play good
that's the whole
defense.
point of Romero.
Now, Perisic was he was the wrong guy to have in that game.
Perisic
Um,
has been extremely mid to bad since like his first 2 or 3 games. Like
correct.
at this point, if he doesn't improve his form, I would next year. He's got a 2 year keep him around next year, but I wouldn't have him play a single minute. I would let Sess and Udoji, however you
Oh
say his
yeah.
name, I would let them battle it out for the left back spot and essentially just have him be like, here's what I used to do in my heyday when I was
I,
actually a good player.
I'm fine with that. And I think that's why they bought Destiny and they loaned him out this year
Yeah,
to give him more minutes. Like I think there's a plan to that and I like the plan. I want to see more of Sessegnon. And yes, he's young and he makes mistakes. So you basically say to Sess, you say, if you have a great game, you're in there for 80 to 90 minutes. If you're not having a good game, I'll pull you in the 50th and we'll talk about why you didn't have a good game. But this is essentially your position to lose unless, like, if you string five of these bad or three of these bad games in a row, like, no, you're not playing. But I want you to, because he has an aggression to him, and aggression is probably not the right word. He's
like
got
he just
a
runs
pace.
more. He's got an
He's got a
engine.
pace, right? He's got a pace to him that just the team plays better when he's in the game, I think. And Perisic, he cut into his right a lot, and then he delivered nothing against Man U. Um,
And he was getting skinned.
and that's what we said last episode. Do you remember? I said Anthony is fast, and
Yeah.
so I think you need Sessegnon in the game
That
to
game was
offset
perfect
that.
for him.
Right. But it was a
But
big game, and so Conte put in,
your boy Mickey
Perisic.
deferred to his old.
Yeah. The midfield wasn't good. I'm starting to just Bentoncourt, and I think you've said it a bunch of times, is when we're beating up on a bad team, he looks great. But when we've got a tough game where he needs to really, I don't focus, let's call it, he's mediocre to poor.
Yeah.
Kane's first touch, by the way, is horrible.
He's forgotten how to play, I think. Like, I don't understand what's happened.
And Sonny,
Like, I get that the goal was good, but
right.
Harry Kane has had almost just as big a downturn in form as Sonny's has led to a lack of goals where Kane has gotten lucky with more than Sonny.
No, I agree. Yeah, I would agree with that. And Sonny, um, look, he didn't play well for 5 straight games, and they took him out. Then he scored the hat trick, and I went, Sonny's back. No, and then he had a game where he had two, where he was the best player on the pitch. Fine, but is he a little bit old now, and he can't do that every game?
I
Like
think
that's scary.
there's a larger conversation to be had with Sonny, and I think it's that a couple years ago, Sonny sacrificed his all-around Kane's, where Kane got to have the ball more and did more of the assisting, and Sonny kind of on beating his man and taking the long shots that he used to just essentially be a finisher. And I think this is like the culmination of 2 years of just I haven't taken on a man and I don't really do that anymore. And now when we need that more, he's not able to because he gave that up in order for Kane to be this double threat that he became.
Well, so we've got Newcastle on Sunday. And when we talked about this 3-game stretch, you said you wouldn't be surprised if we got 2 points. I said I would be happy with 7. And so if we can beat Newcastle, we get 6. And look, it's just masquerading that Antonio's tactics, and I'm the biggest fan of Antonio's, and I always think, like, who are we going to get? But fuck. Man U and Arsenal, those games were horrible. Like, those are the games where you need to get up. And if he can't get his players to get up and he can't himself adapt, I mean, this is kind of was Poch a great adapter? Was Mourinho a great adapter? Like, not for Spurs near the end, especially for Poch. Like, they just kind of said, well, this is what I'm going with, and it's either going to
That's
work
what
or
got
it's
them
not.
fired.
And I mean, I remember there was a game where I think we played fairly well against Man U in the first half, and then, like, even Ole was able to change his tactics. Um, I may be confusing that with a different game where I was just watching a Man U game, but, like, you would see even some of the poor managers adapting tactics, and I just don't feel like Conte is willing, able. I don't know the answer, but we can't keep playing like this. It's boring, and I know that's
This
exactly what
is
you've
what
been
I've been
saying.
saying.
I know, and Man U really highlighted it for me. Like, it's just fucking boring. Like, come on. We're better than this, or are we? And I think that's the last point is, are we better? And I know you don't think so. I think we are. Um, so now,
Doesn't that
very
make it
quickly,
worse though?
I don't
Especially
know.
when his comment after the game was that we were worse. We are worse.
Yeah, I mean, he also loves playing those, like, mind games, and who knows what he's trying
But
to
I don't
get
think
at.
it's
No,
I think he's a fake alpha male who's actually a beta male. We're just
it could.
worse than everyone. You can't blame me.
So it's interesting thought because I think he's playing Daniel Levy a little bit, um, to try to get him more funds to buy players in January
I
and then
think
to
he
buy
has
players
those
next summer.
funds. I think he will be given those funds regardless. I but I think he and his fucking Italian boy paracetamol have the worst ball knowledge of all time. They just keep buying the wrong people. So I want to
But
move
we
on.
thought, yeah, but we thought they bought the right people. Let's move on. So
We did.
quickly, because yeah, I mean, Jed Spence we thought was a good buy. We
No,
thought,
I like Jed Spence because I think he's the best option of the shitty options. But we were promised a like statement right wing back, and we bought a 21-year-old kid who wasn't going to be played.
but
I said that
what I'll
all
tell you,
summer.
though is he's got the right attitude. I really like his attitude because
He
even,
does. I like Spence
yeah,
now.
I
In the
do.
summer before we signed him, but I like Spence a lot now, and I want him to play. But I want to make it really. He was a terrible signing.
So
Like
I
just
don't necessarily agree with you.
not at all what we needed.
I think the idea was he was he was the Destiny signing, but we didn't loan him out for the year. We had him
And
play
also, you
here
needed,
because
like,
we
the whole
weren't
point was that you
comfortable with the
needed a
right wing.
big state. Like, the right wing back was our biggest area of
Our
need,
big
and we were
statement was
supposed to
Richarlison.
sign.
Our big statement was
It
Richarlison.
wasn't
That was our
supposed to
big
be.
signing,
If
but
you
that was what it was.
going
That was
into the summer, every article that I read said they're looking at right wing back and they're looking at as the two biggest areas of need. And we got out of the window with Jed Spence and Longley. And we're going to talk about the Union now.
all right, very quickly, because we've got a little bit of Phillies to talk about as well. I didn't watch any of the game. I woke up in the morning and
I'll just take this.
to an
take
email
2
that
minutes
basically said we're in the conference finals. So I was happy about that, and I'm wearing my Union sweatshirt here in London.
I wore mine yesterday.
From Lapstone and Hammer. Remember the great
X not sponsor of the pod.
X non-sponsor of the pod. Yes, Lapstone and Hammer. Go check them out.
So this was an ugly game. It was like a classic Brexit 1-0, except without the British English aspect of it at all. There were a ton of fouls. The ref would really poor job of managing this game and was really only making calls for Cincinnati, which
really
annoyed me a lot. They had an elbow to, I can't remember who, but an elbow to the head and didn't even get a yellow for it, if I remember correctly. Like, there was a lot going on.
One of the problems with MLS has always been the refereeing. They do have the worst refs of any, we'll call it major league, right? And by major, I mean even the Eredivisie is considered a major league. They by far have the worst refereeing. And Beckham was calling, I mean, if you read Beckham's book, you didn't read it. I read it.
I don't think we have time for this.
No, but he basically, look, I don't remember much of what it was said. I read it 10 years ago whenever it came out. But one of the things he said was the refereeing is poor, and until you fix it, the league is always going to struggle.
That is true.
And it feels like they have not fixed it, even since Beckham was saying it.
The quality of the league has improved a lot, though. I will say that.
The player quality, yes.
But,
I agree.
in this game, neither team looked good. I mean, the only difference between them was Leon Flock decided to have the greatest moment for his first goal. And that was the difference, really. Like,
I heard Blake was pretty good as well.
And Blake was out really, he was the only reason we stayed in this game. Before and after. But we always struggle against Cincinnati, and we always struggle after a break. I actually don't think the bye helped us. So hopefully they pick it up for the next game. Eastern Conference Final against either, I believe, Montreal or NYCFC. I'm hoping for NYCFC because then we could get some revenge for last year's COVID Gate scandal.
So, yeah, COVID Gate scandal apparently was self-inflicted.
Are you even allowed to say these things?
I don't know. I think it may have been self-inflicted. Let's just put it that way. I don't think it was just we got it. I think players did things they probably shouldn't have done. So part of it was probably self-inflicted. And we're a year on. At this point, they need to avenge that loss. And
so I hope they get NYCFC.
I hope they do too. So now we've got game 3, Phillies Astros. So we both have talked about this before the series. If we had said we're going to leave, I was going to say Cincinnati, we're going to leave San Diego 1-1, we would both say yes.
The biggest problem was game 1 was amazing. Let's say that.
Wheeler
looked out dealing.
He was good.
That Bryce homer was huge. That bomb was fucking massive. And
it was nice.
Just quickly, that Schwarber bomb came courtesy of Schwarber Best at Wawa. where hoagies are the same price now as they were during Hoagie Fest, which coincidentally or uncoincidentally matched up perfectly with Schwarber's good form. So they started this promotion specifically for him so he'd start hitting again. And on the first day of that promotion, he hit a massive home run.
Look at you
So
doing a little ad
thank you,
copy.
Wawa. Thank
Look at
you,
you doing a
Wawa. And
little
go
ad
buy a
copy.
hoagie now. $5 shorties.
Look at you
I
writing a
didn't even
little
write that. That
copy.
was off the
All right.
dome.
Okay. Um,
I mean, everyone hit in game one. It was pretty great. Saranthan dominated his inning, and Alvarado, the closer, was a little shaky. He wasn't done any favors by the defense. Bohm and Stott both kind of at fault for a little bit of an error, but it didn't end up affecting things, so it was fine. Game two was a problem, though, because we went 4-0 up, then gave up two solo home runs, and at that point it was clear like wasn't looking good, wasn't looking right, and you had to like minimize damage, get them out. And they didn't do it quickly enough, and we went down 8-4, and it just they never looked like they were going to come back.
so I am sitting here on the second floor of the lobby of a hotel. And there's a woman downstairs who is actually on a speakerphone. And the volume may be turned up to 1,000. I can hear the other woman on the other line. And it's just, how fucking rude are you when I don't understand people. People are so selfish, it's unbelievable. Now, you may be saying, well, you're pretty selfish for doing a fucking podcast in the middle of the
A little
lobby.
bit.
But I'm on the second floor and there's nobody around me. I could spin this table around and you would see not a soul around. Should I do that? Should we spin it around?
No, we should
Okay,
not.
we won't do it.
We should get to our punch of the week and get out of here because we are over time.
Yes,
Thanks
we
to
are.
you again.
Again,
might
it's
I
always
add.
me. I like to derail us.
We
So
thought it was going to be me, but
yeah.
it is proven to be you
Oh, it's
on every
100%.
occasion
I
we've gone
have,
over.
as the older generation like to say, I have the gift of gab. What can I tell you? Right? I have the
Ain't
gift of
that the
gab.
truth? You can
Um,
talk.
I can talk. All right. So we are here. It is Friday afternoon, evening for me, October 21st.
We're 2 hours away from Phillies Padres game.
And we are about to reveal our punches of the week. Who's your punch of the week,
And
Ari?
so
Are we
my
going to say the
punch of the
same one?
week, my punch of the week is going to become an episodely segment. My punch of the week is Ben Simmons. In his Nets debut, comeback season revenge arc, Ben had 4, 5, and 5. 3 turnovers and fouled out at minus 26 and was utterly dominated by Zion Williamson, who looked rusty all game.
How many minutes?
Ben
How many
Strong!
minutes did Ben play? Do you know that off the top of your head or
Not
no?
that many. I think it was 23
He hit a minus 26
in 23 minutes.
in 23 minutes. Wow. Good for him. Good for you, JoJo. He did really
And
well
they
there.
got blown the fuck out by the Pelicans, where Zion looked rusty all night and still utterly dominated Ben, who is supposedly the best defender in the NBA. So fuck you,
Well,
Ben Simmons.
so
And we're gonna be discussing this every episode.
I think
what
we
he's
should.
done.
We're gonna have we're gonna have to do a quick Ben watch where we just give the stats and
Pretty
very
much.
little information. But I will
We'll do
say,
that every
I
episode.
believe there was a quote from a certain individual who you stan a little bit, right? Um, and I believe, and I'm
Oh,
not
yeah, I didn't like
quoting,
that. I didn't like that.
I'm not quoting, but I'm gonna paraphrase where he basically said, "Y'all need to give the guy a break because he's the best defender in the world."
And to Pat Bev, I say, I still love you, but you need
But
to
you're
get your
wrong.
fucking head checked, buddy, because that is a terrible take.
You need
And
to get your
Roan
head
like
checked,
brought it
buddy.
up. I was annoyed with Roan for that because it was good.
Okay, so my punch of the week is actually going to be very simple. But it's I actually have two, and it's not punch of the week, right? It's
Is
punch
it
of the
all of
episode
our
because we.
sports teams?
So it's Tottenham, and it's the Sixers.
Yeah,
I'm
cool.
so upset with both, and I mean, look, I'll be at the Tottenham game on Sunday. That's me flexing a little bit, right? And I will love them when I get there, and I will
I
enjoy it.
won't.
But man, like the Man U game was painful, and with the Sixers, watching the Celtics dismantle us in the second half, and watching, sorry, um, regular season Tatum annihilate us, just wasn't fun, and I didn't enjoy it. So those are my two punches of the week, and with that, we thank you for listening. Because I control the microphone setup and everything, I could say whatever I want now. And I would like to thank you, Ari,
I
for
hate
making
you.
the time to
I
join
hate
us.
you so much.
Thanks, everyone.